Hello everyone, welcome to the LGBTQ Baha'i Experience. This is the third installment of questions and answers submitted by viewers on social media. I do not know the questions ahead of time, so these will be just off-the-cuff responses, but from my heart. I speak just for Sean Rayshel. I do not speak for all LGBTQ Baha'is, nor do I speak for the Baha'i faith in general. So on to question number 1. What can I do as an LGBTQ Baha'i ally for the LGBTQ community within my Baha'i community in Los Angeles? I assume this person is a non-LGBTQ individual. This question is often asked by Baha'is and Baha'i communities all around the world. Sean, what can we do for LGBTQ Baha'is? What can we do for the LGBTQ community? And there are so many constraints within the Baha'i faith that is often very perplexing, even for me to answer this. I don't know where to begin, honestly, but during feast consultations, during cluster meetings, I do think that more people need to bring up their concerns about LGBTQ Baha'is and also outreach to the LGBTQ community, seeing that they are currently being targeted, all across the U.S. and also in other countries as well, that the Baha'is should be a place of solace for people of all walks of life, including the LGBTQ community. So I feel like if there is a continued chorus of Baha'is mentioning this issue, that the ball could start rolling in a more positive direction for LGBTQ Baha'is and also in general. So keep it up, keep on asking questions. Like I said, mention it amongst Baha'i communities in settings such as consultation and also in like cluster meetings and whatnot. On to question number 2. I often wonder how large the Baha'i faith would be if the faith was LGBTQ affirming. Can you speak to that? Well, yes, I think the Baha'i faith as we currently see is shrinking. There is a continued exodus of Baha'is, according to the annual reports in both the US and Canada, as well as other countries, which can be easily researched. I do feel that if this was a non-issue within the Baha'i faith would be probably 4 times as larger, if not even bigger. This is a major stumbling block for those who are seekers looking into the Baha'i faith. It is an issue that is very much at the forefront of Baha'is who are no longer active in Baha'i community life who are thinking of leaving the Baha'i faith because it is not LGBTQ affirming. I could just imagine a future world where there is not an issue for LGBTQ people within the Baha'i faith. There is so much vitality and creativity and resources and education the LGBTQ people could bring to the Baha'i faith. And that is something I want Baha'is to think about and to meditate on, is to what it would look like. So, on to question number 3. Do you think your videos cause harm to the Baha'i faith? Well, that's a very heavy question, and I can see where the viewer could ask such a question. I do not feel these videos harm the Baha'i faith in any way other than being a platform for truth and for the LGBTQ Baha'i experience, experienced by the vast majority of LGBTQ Baha'is and myself. And I think that truthfulness is a virtue that most Baha'is hold dear. This is not a platform to shame the faith, but it is going to be a tool for those who can educate themselves on the plight of LGBTQ Baha'is. And for the faith to grow and the faith to evolve, we have to face our skeletons in our closet and do it in a tactful way, and which I think I'm doing. I do feel that I go from a place of love and And if people feel this is attacking the Baha'i faith or causing harm to the Baha'i faith, then that's on them. And moving on to the next question. Dear Sean and Rich, if the House were able to either freeze application of the law in the Octos or reverse it altogether, would you two return to the Baha'i faith? Well, I was raised as a Baha'i. I'm a third generation Baha'i. My mom's parents were Baha'is. My parents were Baha'is. Rich was never a Baha'i, but he investigated the faith when he met me in the year 2001. And I think that Rich would have become a Baha'i if it were not for this ongoing issue within the Baha'i faith. I sheltered him oftentimes when he asked me questions about the Baha'i faith because I knew in my heart of hearts that we would not be accepted in the Baha'i faith as a couple. If the House reversed course or altered or froze or whatever, I'm just speaking casually here, I'm not being technical, if things would be different, let's just say that, I would consider rejoining the Baha'i faith. I don't know if I'd automatically register as a Baha'i. I would probably meet with Baha'i communities, get my feet wet, see where the pulse of the faith is and where it's going. There's things outside of the LGBTQ issue that I'm very much concerned about. So there is that. But ideally, let's just say ideally, if this was a vigorous, healthy religious community, which I don't feel it is currently, then I would become a Baha'i again. And I would leave Rich up to his own decision if he would want to join this religion. But bear in mind, whoever asked this question, all these years of witnessing all the hurt and anguish I have had to endure, and Rich had to witness, I don't see my husband ever becoming a Baha'i in this possible future scenario that the viewer posed to us. That could change. I don't know, but I don't know the future. I'm not a psychic, but that's a very, very good question, by the way, whoever asked that. On to the next question. Why don't you write the Universal House of Justice instead of making videos? I feel this sort of relates to the earlier question about, causing harm to the Baha'i faith. And I feel this is a passive-aggressive kind of question that it's kind of typical in the Baha'i faith, saying instead of voicing or airing my grievances or the shared grievances of the LGBTQ Baha'i community, why don't you just quietly write the House of Justice instead of being so public? That's what I'm inferring from this question. And to that viewer, I have written the House of Justice numerous times or shared information with them over the course of 25 years. I do not believe writing them any further is going to solicit a different response. They are highly aware of these videos and my social media account, and I hope they understand I do not want any harm to come to the Baha'i faith. Those Baha'is who've known me my whole life would also would say that Sean loves the Baha'i faith and doesn't want to see any harm coming to the Baha'i faith. I just come from a place of honesty and truth, something that I find missing in the larger Baha'i community. We tend to focus just on positive things, and anything that is considered controversial or negative or critical is brushed under the carpet. So yes, to that viewer, I have written to the House of Justice numerous times, and I have shared those letters and their responses for 25 years on social media. Question number 6. I'm a 73-year-old gay man who fondly remembers the Baha'i religion that Seals and Crofts spoke so highly of. Can I consider myself a Baha'i without any formalities? All right, so the viewers who do not know about Seals and Crofts, they were a pop rock duo that were very popular in the 1970s, who are personally responsible for bringing in I dare not say, but possibly over 100,000 people worldwide, if not more, into the Baha'i religion because they were so open about being Baha'is. They would have Baha'i firesides after their big concerts and whatnot. So yes, so Seals and Crofts is a prominent fixture in my childhood growing up in the early 1980s still. And so that is his connection to the Baha'i faith, which oftentimes you'll see from people of his generation. And I love Seals and Crofts. And could he consider himself a Baha'i without any formalities? You know, for Baha'is, that means declaring their faith in the Baha'i faith, a formal process, and you sign a declaration card. If they still do that, I could be wrong. You know, I'm not been involved in the Baha'i community for some time, but I would say that as a gay man, I would not want to have him become a Baha'i at this point, considering the climate. But in his heart of hearts, if he connects to the message of Baha'u'llah, and I think that, like many people, they consider themselves Baha'is, but they're not registered Baha'is. I think there are more people who consider themselves Baha'is just because they relate to the teachings and the principles than there are actual Baha'is who are registered. And I think that's true of a lot of different religious groups, pagan groups, Hinduism, Rastafarianism, etc. I think a lot of people relate to those communities and they will say they are adherents to those religions without any formalities. So yeah, definitely, if the faith speaks to you in your heart, then you can consider yourself a Baha'i in your heart. But as a gay man speaking to another gay man, I would say don't formally join the Baha'i faith at this point. Hard for me to tell somebody not to join the faith, so. But that's where we are, right? That's where we are with the situation at hand. On to the next question. Dear Sean, my parents say that gay people are no different than pedophiles. I'm in the closet and do not agree with them. Is there anything in the Baha'i writings to support what my parents say? Oh no, this is one of those types of questions. It's very hard for me to sometimes gather my thoughts on something like this. Okay, well, no, well, there's no correlation to pedophilia and homosexuality. Unfortunately, back when The Guardian was translating the Akdas in the 1950s, they were conflated with each other, and that was the current thought of the day. That is the current thought amongst older generations of Baha'is, oftentimes. So I'm assuming his parents are, 50 plus, and that is a misconception. So Baha'u'llah in the Akdas spoke against pederasty, which is pedophilia. That is what he spoke against. And I will hold firm in that because, that's what it says in the Akdas. So he was speaking against child molestation. He did not speak against same-sex adult relationships. I'm sorry that your parents see them as one and the same. I am upset that many Baha'is in the world see them as one and the same. They are clearly not. For this person who is in the closet, know that you are a beautiful, noble soul. You are not the same as somebody who hurts children. And your parents are just wrong. And it's okay to disagree with your parents on that. I would say that you should present your parents with the current scientific findings of today, so you could educate them. Even being in the closet, there are ways to approach the subject and to engage this topic as best as one can. With ignorance, the best thing is education, and that's all I can hammer at this point, is to educate. Baha'is need to be educated on a great deal of things pertaining to the LGBTQ community in general. On to question number 8. The youth group in my community has been watching your videos, until someone told the adults in the community, and we were told that we cannot watch your videos as you're considered a troublemaker. One assembly member said you were a covenant breaker. Is that true? Jesus, I'm sorry. Okay, well, I am glad to hear that there are youth groups and also Baha'i communities watching these videos in some capacity. I've heard that from other people as well. That's awesome. These are what these videos are intended to cause dialogue and to have a conversation in the Baha'i communities. This is great. I'm sorry that you were told not to watch my videos. I could see that happening. I assumed that type of thing would happen, or people would call me a troublemaker, which I've been labeled for 25 years. It's a good kind of trouble, so, I'll own that one. And, I care about, the health and welfare of LGBTQ Baha'is, their sanity, their mental health, their spiritual well-being. I speak to people who are close to committing suicide. I speak to parents to not disown their children. So if that is trouble, then so be it. I will wear it proudly. When it comes to this covenant breaker bullshit, I'm sorry, but that is what it is. I'm not a covenant breaker. I did not start another branch of the Baha'i faith. I do not support any of the covenant breaker Baha'i groups. So yeah, I'm not a covenant breaker. And also, when I was, someone said in an official capacity, at a cluster meeting years ago that I was soon to be declared a covenant breaker. I cleared my name with the Universal House of Justice, and they reaffirmed that I was not being investigated for being a covenant breaker, and that was basically a lie. So yes, to the earlier question, I always communicate these type of things directly to the house. I am not a covenant breaker, and to the youth who have written me or us on this, tell your parents that Sean has written to the house and he has cleared his name. And the letters have been on social media for some time, and I could always provide them. Reach out to me and I can provide you that letter. So your parents know that the house does not consider me a covenant breaker. On to question number 9, the last question. We like the number 9 in the Baha'i faith, so here is the last question. Dear Sean, have you considered attending the Unitarian Universalist Church? You would be very welcomed in any of our congregations. Love, Franklin. Well, Franklin, I have investigated the Unitarian Universalist Church. I think they are one of the healthiest religious denominations currently in America. They are progressive, they are loving, they are inclusive, all the things that the Baha'i faith says they are. But, Franklin, those who I have reached out to, or churches I've been to, I still find to be a little bit Christ-focused or centered. It's not as inclusive on what I've seen as far as the few examples I've seen in those churches. So they do lean on the Bible a lot from my experience, even though they will also have other writings from other religions, which I think is wonderful. I can overlook some of that if there was a congregation in Palm Springs, California. There isn't. The closest is in Rancho Mirage. And I feel that they had some kind of conflicting hours with my work and whatnot. But if there was a local one in Palm Springs, I probably would attend just to feel them out. I love all the Unitarian Universalists who follow me on our Twitter account. They're very loving and supportive and warm. All the things that I wish the Baha'i faith would be. So they're a great example, largely, of how to be inclusive. And that is the challenge for the Baha'i faith. As the numbers continue to dwindle in the Baha'i faith, I feel that it's not as rich as it used to be. It's not as diverse as it used to be. And I believe there needs to be a really hard look on how to fix that. No matter how much Ruhi or the Institute process these communities are doing worldwide, it's sad for me to see them shrinking. And I just do think that, we need to focus on the core values and principles of the Baha'i faith. Unity in diversity. Very much a mantra now being used, ironically, by the Unitarian Universalist Church. So there's that, and focus on uniting all of mankind, and the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law. I really think that we just need to go with the spirit of the law. Baha'is will know what I mean by that. Meaning, you know what, there's things we can overlook for the greater unity of this religion. And that we need to overlook whatever it is about this issue with LGBTQ Baha'is and same-sex couples. And I think this religion will be better for it as we move forward in the 21st century. Love is always the answer. And with that, love to everybody who watches these videos and supports us and is our cheerleaders through this process. The next video will be an interview between a mom and a son who became Baha'is about, say, 6 years ago. And the son no longer probably considers himself a Baha'i currently, and it's going to be a two-part video. There will be a video on the video we took years ago when we were planning an actual documentary, and then we'll do a second video where we have an update on how the mom and the son are coping in the world right now with the current situation in the Baha'i faith. So with that, everyone keep on liking these videos, sharing these videos, and peace and love to everybody out there during the holiday season. Thank you very much.